Hello to everyone. Welcome on our webinar today regarding the new platform version 2.3. Welcome everyone, and happy to have you here for this quite brief webinar regarding our latest version, the Deception Platform 2.3. You should see my screen. I'm here together with Anastasia. Hello, Anastasia. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thank you.
You
How are
ready to
you?
start? I'm good. Thank you. You ready to start?
Yeah, sure. Let's do
That's
that.
great. So, short agenda before we start. I will do the first part in context of introduction, speaking about the improvements and the philosophy behind the new release. Briefly, during the demo part, we will speak about new point types, the latest Wazuh integration and what it means, and also our great feature, the Seeker, has new features included in the 2.3 release. I remind you that we are proud member of EXO, and we are listed in the CyberHive catalog, which includes all the greatest European vendors in cybersecurity field made in Europe. So version 2.3, the latest release that is accessible right now with the great cat that you probably already have seen on our announcement banner. So improvements. Improvements, if we look at the numbers, we finished with our R&D team 92, almost 100 great tasks, 11 major improvements, 11 minor, and also 38 bug fixes are included in this release. If you remember, for the release development cycle, we have 2-month cycle for the releasing stuff per year. So it's 2 releases per year. We call them Spring Edition and Autumn Edition. So definitely the 2.3 version is an Autumn Edition. 80-20 strategy, we continue with that. 80% of our features are coming from you, from customers, from partners. Of course, that includes also the improvements required by you, not only new features. 20% is focused on innovation, and I will speak about it a bit more. So the evolution of the deception, as you know, it's coming from honeypots. Many times partners, customers are asking, okay, what do you do more when you speak about deception than honeypots? We know it's all about integrating quick of deployment, which is the main difference between deception and honeypots. But we also see that within the evolution of what we have on the market right now, we have preemptive strategy. Preemptive strategy for cybersecurity, which is including deception as well. So what you're gonna see in this release a bit, but also in upcoming release next year, it's a lot of stuff regarding preemptive cybersecurity strategy. What is it? It's not a webinar about that. We will definitely make more webinars regarding preemptive next year, but you should know about the 3D of preemptive cybersecurity, which is a bit deception, distortion, and denial. Okay, all of this stuff will be seen more and more within Labyrinth Platform, mainly next year, but I already want to point it out right now. So, small reminder, supported platforms, Hyper-V, VMware, Proxmox, Microsoft Cloud, and also recently we allow also installation on the bare metal on the physical servers. The deployment cycle, coming back once again to this slide, 2.2, the Spring Edition, 2.3 now, the Autumn Edition. As you maybe, if you follow us since more than 1 year, you probably noticed that we haven't done the presentation, the webinar about 2.3 version. So I will use the occasion right now and remind you some of the key features that were introduced with that version right now, without demo, just briefly, because some of them have been extended in 2.3. So it's quite important to know what we did with 2.2 version. So first of all, the core feature was the introduction of the Active Directory security. Active Directory security without an agent in a very, I would say, elegant way, but it was requested to have an ABM Curator or Splunk CM solution because it was using the two-way integration. Nastya will explain a bit more in context of what's new in 2.3, but I just wanted to remind that Active Directory for the first time was presented in 2.2 version. Dark web monitoring, as you might know, or if not, I'm reminding you, with the starting from 2.2 version included in the license, you have an ability to monitor free domains within the dark web. And we do it thanks to our technology, let's call it alliance, cooperation with Paranoid Lab. So if you need more than free domains, if you need some details about how it works, we can always organize for you a session with Paranoid Lab team, and they will tell you how it all works. But already you can check yourself Paranoid Lab website to get more. But with the Labyrinth platform, starting from the smallest license included in the price, you can monitor free domains. New point types. Today we will speak also about the new point types, but already into the 2 we extended Windows OS, TFTP, Telnet, PBX variants, also mail servers. Offline license support. So as today, we will present a full air-gapped Labyrinth version. We already started delivering it with 2.2 by announcing or introducing the new way of providing the license. I remind you that prior to 2.2 version, the license was based on the license server communication. So there was a heartbeat that was checking if you have a proper license with our update.labyrinth.tech server. Starting from 2.2, it is still working that way, but there is also an option that we can provide an offline license. So basically the connection to update.labyrinth.tech is not required anymore. Today we will speak about more features that at the end 2.3 will introduce the first version which is fully air-gapped in Labyrinth history. All the details about 2.2, if you don't know all the other features, of course, you can find it on our knowledge base. I remind you that knowledge base is the only source of documentation release notes for Labyrinth. So you already have 2.3 major release notes, and also 2.2 and all the previous or the in-between maintenance releases, which are releases basically introducing bug fixes or critical security fixes. It's not including any new features. So that's what's on my side from the release notes perspective and introduction call. Preemptive is for us the big stuff. And now we will focus on several key features from the new release 2.3 that has been released a few days ago. So Nastya, the stage is yours. Please share your screen.
Great, thank you. Give me a second and I will do that. 1 second, and yeah, we will start. I believe you can see my screen right now. At least that's what Zoom tells me. And what I want to start with is that indeed we have a lot of things added to the platform in the span of this release, of previous major release. Of course, we won't be covering all of the features. We will cover only some, but if there will be any questions or anything like that, please contact us at support or info at Labyrinth.tech, and it would be great to assist. So yeah, we will start with performance improvements first of all. In this category, we can add, for example, IP conflict detection for points, L2 availability checks also for points, and what's really important, it's multi-interface support. To have it, we need to first to understand what actually changed. We need to understand how it used to be. As many of you are familiar, until version 2.3, every worker node could operate only through one interface, ATH0. It was the default one. Of course, you can, ATH0 also could have been used for management, so this way you have two interface setup. But the general idea remained the same, that you have only one interface, and if you want to provide access to multiple VLANs, you should deal with trunking. Its option still remains, but we are adding to the table multiple interface support. What does it mean? It means that now workers can have multiple untagged interfaces, each mapped automatically depending on your HoneyNet configuration, as you see. To make it a little bit easier to understand how it works, from the technical perspective and how the decision making is performed, I suggest that we see an example. As you can see, I have here let's imagine this is a worker and it has three interfaces. ATH0 is the default one, remains the same. We have ATH1 and ATH2, and we have different HoneyNet configurations, as you can see. And depending on the values that we see here, the Labyrinth will automatically decide which interface to use. So there's no additional, additional complications on the process of creating HoneyNets and working with the platform. It still basically remains the same. So the basic rules that we can outline, first of all, is that ATH0 is the default interface that I mentioned. Every HoneyNet with VLAN that is not 0 will continue to use the default interface ATH0. HoneyNets with VLAN that equals 0 will automatically attach to whichever interface IP belongs to their subnet. So if we take those examples, you can see that the last HoneyNet example from here, it has VLAN ID of 29, so it will go to ATH0. VLANs, those HoneyNet examples first and second, they will go to additional interfaces. And depending on the subnet that we specify, that interface will be chosen, as I mentioned, fully automatically. It does. What's about already configured instances, stands that are working appliances? We have backward compatibility. It's guaranteed, so existing setups require no changes. But if you want to attach them, it also won't be any problem. You can read more about that in the Labyrinth knowledge base as a dedicated page. I suggest that we continue, and right now we will do it in a more interactive way. So we will try some features, with multi-interfaces it gets a little bit tricky testing, but with the rest we will see how it looks, and you will also see a peek of how it will be in your environment. Of course, we encourage you to test everything and share your feedbacks. So your feedbacks is what actually fueled those changes, those new features to appear in the first place. So let's begin. Our first thing will be web deception. So also, if you use Labyrinth, you work with us, you know that web deception is something that is particularly interesting for us. Is a whole big world that we have, how we advanced there, how we had this, chain of development and research, and we haven't stopped on what we have right now on the universal web point. We are also adding additional new point types to the table that you can use. And the first one will be Universal Simple Web. Universal Simple Web, it introduces a new way to deploy static web decoys using HAR files. So HAR, HTTP archive. So it contains a recorded web session, so requests, responses, and additional assets will be in there. So why this matters? Because before this version, of course, we had, as I mentioned, universal web point. Universal web point, as you know, it requires access to the original application. So, however, in some environments, it can be, particularly restricted. It can be a tricky task to perform. And for us, this case is also important, and that's why we introduce this feature. Now you can record any real login portal, admin panel, or application UI, and then redeploy it as a static decoy. You can see that the process workflow is extremely simple. So first of all, we need to record session. We can use tools like Mid Proxy or browsers like Firefox. And what's important here is that the credibility and the overall quality of the decoy will depend on how many different variants you will actually have, of different interaction ways from your real application. Because once again, we won't be this way, relying on the backend. We will be dealing with this file that is provided. Then we export it. We need to attach it to universal web point type through the attachment mechanism, as you remember, and then generate the honeynet, as easy as it is. We can try and perform something like that so that you will see how it actually looks like. Of course, we also have some examples of configured decoys, to see the final result. But my goal here is to make sure that this process is clear. Okay, so let's go. So here I have Labyrinth that we will be dealing that. But as we remember from here, our first step will be recording a session. For this, I will be using Firefox, but as I mentioned, you can use absolutely different tools. The list of the ones that we actually recommend, it is provided in the documentation. So the reason why we say recommend, just because, we need to make sure that data in the archive is not stripped. Once again, we are relying on this data to create the decoy. So generally speaking, you can use any tools, but the ones that are recommended, they will be just easier. You will have guidelines on how to use it. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to make sure that configuration is correct. So we can go config. We need to make sure that our browser is configured correctly. So from here, we need to search for. Okay, we need to increase this limit. You can put 0, like in my example, and this way you won't have limits on your size. For sure, you can play with it around. Okay, next, what we need to do, we will start recording. I'll go to inspect, you see, network. Here we need to make sure to have this disable cache option and also persist logs. Next, we open, let's do an example of knowledge base, Labyrinth knowledge base that we mentioned a lot today. If your colleagues need access, just drop us a line. We need to know name of the person and email. And after that, we will send an invitation to connect. You will get everything that is needed. And you can see that we started recording. You can also see, as I mentioned, we need to do a variety of things to make this decoy more interactive, because if we export it in this, in this state, it will be simply a page that won't react to anything. So let's do something. This is a real knowledge base, so we need to be cautious. For example, okay, we need a password, so that will be fine. Login. we received this response. Okay, let's see what happens when we click on lost passwords. Okay, we need to search. Okay, let's do more, because you see we also have option for email address. What if I put some nonsense? Okay, invalid email address. This, by the way, email of our support, so if anything, don't hesitate to contact. Let's search. We also have response. And we can continue. As I mentioned, the quality of the decoy will heavily depend on what you actually have recorded. See, some cookies, notice. Okay, that's enough for us. We can save all of that as HAR. Okay, then we go. Okay, let's have it in downloads. That's it. We click on save. And that's basically all that we need to do with Firefox. Next, our configurations, they will be on the Labyrinth side. This decoy, similarly to universal point, actually requires us to perform some configuration. First of all, what we will be doing, we will be adding attachments. Just give me a second. I will make sure that we will have this archive there. Okay, so we click on plus sign. We need either drag and drop file, you see, or choose file. We put name, so this procedure will be absolutely identical. Or let's have it Labyrinth knowledge base export looks fine for me. We can click upload. If your archive gets too big, and it doesn't fit in the limits, also archives are okay. You can upload them as well. Won't make any problems here. And after that, once we uploaded it, we need to create a configuration. So we go to point types. By the way, we also have some major UI improvements, you see, to make it easier for you to navigate, for example, in point basis. You will see it through the course of demonstration, so the platform. So our main goal, as we mentioned, one of the main goals is to make it as easy as possible to use, and we are actively doing that. Let's click on plus sign to create config. As usual, we need to provide name, like that. Just to make sure that my IDs don't intercept. Okay, let's add some text, like for example, like that. Next, we choose config. We choose point type base here, first of all, and then we select attachment. Okay, point type base. Okay, we have it. Then we select attachment. I have it as well. And from here, I will need to copy this ID. I can do it simply like that by clicking one button. You can see that this config, it's YAML. You're already familiar with it. We need to go to services, and the services, the most important thing, first of all, is to put right here attachment ID, so which one we actually will be using. And also you see that we are required to specify target host. We can see from description. So, okay, domain name or IP address of original web interface. We already know it. It's kb-labyrinth.tech, and that's it. You have some additional things, to make that may be required depending, on the complexity of the original application, such as dynamic cleric parameters. You see, we also have relevant cookies and etc. You can also configure, emulation of the server, like what exactly we'll be emulating, also similar to the universal web point, and etc. So headers, routes, certificates, everything is in here for you to use to further customize your appliance. Okay, so looks fine for me. We can click on create, and it's created. After that, as usual, we go to HoneyNet configuration and click on details. By the way, here you can see HoneyNet's page also changed to make it more convenient for you to use. such as we have detection settings, and in the HoneyNet, like this create page, also you see it's now dropped down, so it's easier for you to choose a location where your decoys will be deployed. Okay, so we need to change it. Okay, so now we will search how it was, LKB, new, okay. I will create only one, apply, update it successfully, and we need to generate. To save your time, we won't be waiting until it's generated, and I will show you an example of what I did in advance, so that we will get it. But it's, you see, pretty fast. Okay, it's pending. Right now it's in progress. Okay, so let's see. Let me just see. We have plenty of new decoys, and we will be seeing them as well today. And this is emulation of the Labyrinth knowledge base. You can see. You can interact with it more, play around, and as I mentioned, the quality, it is what important here is the quality of the simulation will heavily depend on what you actually have. So if we try and log in, we can interact with it more, you see, we will get notified about all of that activity. Examples of others are in there, you see. For example, login page, login attempt detected, and etc. Okay, and we have them right in here, so you shouldn't have waited. We can continue. The next advancement in the universal web family, if you can say that, it will be universal API. So universal API is also an additional type of decoy that allows us, to emulate, as you may guess from its name, APIs. So, modern attacks often probe APIs instead of GUIs. And to simulate this layer, we actually have this decoy. So it lets you create full REST API decoys using open API, from Swagger specification. You can simply obtain it in JSON format, also upload it to Labyrinth, and generate. So you see, upload as attachment, add attachment to the decoy, and as a result, you will have your decoy. So it will provide you with an interface, of course, and also it will provide you with with API itself. So you will have those endpoints, and also optionally, but we recommend to have it, this Swagger UI that can be used, for example, for testing what you have. By the way, examples of such configs, of such attachments to make it easier for you, they are provided in the Labyrinth. Now I need to be careful not to get into my trap that I have right in here. So you can get to, for example, if we go to major release, right from here, when reading, you can go, for example, Universal Simple Web, configuration pattern, and you will see example of HI archive and YAML config. The same applies to Universal API. You can see you can have this example. For example, it will be useful for streamlining POC operations or having an example before doing your own configurations. So let's try and configure it, see how it works like. Once again, we need to upload attachment. You can see that I have one. You already saw how it works like. We need to go to types, click on plus sign, choose what exactly we will be creating. It's universal API, select attachment, copy the attachment ID, and we are good to go. We are ready to continue with configuration. So from here, we need to specify attachment ID. You will also see parameters you see for services like for Swagger. So whether we want to enable or disable API. So you see we also have path. So specify where this documentation will be actually available. Some additional parameters like headers and etc. So it's kind of similar to what you have in your universal point to what you actually are used to. So once deployed, so the point will expose endpoints defined in the specification and automatically host a built-in Swagger UI. We can play around. We can see whether I have something like that. And I think I do. By the way, our decoy has been created. Anyway, we need to have it. Here it is. Can copy the IP. We know that it will be available in API docs, and we have it. We can interact with it. We can send requests. Great. Let's continue with the rest. It's not all. We have more decoys, more things coming and coming. Here we have network device point. So network device decoy family broadened deception, realism to include switches, routers, firewalls. So these points, what they do basically, it's kind of similar to what we have with Windows OS, which also was updated to have templates. So you can have templates, you can customize them, and have services like HTTP, HTTPS, as usual, SSH, Telnet, SNMP, of course, and CDP and LLDP. So supported device profiles, it is a broad topic. For example, you can find them in the point types. You see, if we filter by tags and we want to have network, you see we have Cisco, FortiGate, as you remember, we have MikroTik, okay, Storm Shield, Palo Alto, and more. So each profile can be customized through the UI or extended, with new banners and protocol templates. So let's see an example really quick. For example, I have here a web interface, which we can further interact with. Let's continue. It's not only for the deception, the core part of the solution, but also for the additional modules that we constantly deploy new additional features, additional functionality. So here we have Seeker module, and what it brings to the table are new database actions. As you remember, in the Seekers, the whole idea behind that is that we create scenario. Scenario consists of actions. Action is one step that will be actually performed. So we have added new ones for databases. So for PostgreSQL, for MySQL, it includes brute force and queries that allow to interact dynamically with databases. So let's see an example. I have already configured scenario that we can see how it looks like. It consists only of those two newly created modules. So first of all, it's brute force, you see. Configuration is also extremely simple, so we try to have, the same logic overall with those actions, and we can also execute PostgreSQL query. Let's see how it looks in the simulation. So, from the simulation perspective, as you remember, simulations are needed for creating this, for managing this whole thing. So defining who will be performing scenario and when. In this case, you see I have PostgreSQL check. We can see that first there was a brute force. We can click on show results. You will see that my deadly sin is admin here. You can see all of the results. And when executing PostgreSQL query, you can see the results and all of the logs. Okay, let's continue with the next one. Next one is integration. So integration list is expanded with Wazuh. And what is special about this integration is that it's not, one particular, path that we choose. With Wazuh, you can have 3 different ways of integration. The first one, two-way integrations that you're already familiar. So integrations that allows us to answer the question when you receive in CM a record that there's file login, for example, for invalid user. How do you know whether it's real? Something that we need to check, or it's just, a typo. If it's fake credentials that we need for 100% sure, go and check, verify what exactly happened. Because in ideal scenario, nobody should be touching decoys, nobody should be touching file decoys, so breadcrumbs, so serial task, and etc. It is configured extremely easy. You can simply go to settings, integrations, and Wazuh. So configuration is absolutely identical to what you saw. It's, for example, with Splunk. So the main logic remains the same. Here you can specify query or use example, that we have. So this query specifications allows you to make it more clear. And as a result, I will switch to a different tenant, but you will see an example. Where is it? It will be, right in here. It is fake credential usage detected. So absolutely identical to how the rest of the integrations in this category work. Not only that, but we also use Wazuh for Active Directory security module that Pavel mentioned. So overall, the idea behind that module is that we bring cyber deception as close to the possible, attack as we can, as it humanly possible. So we are not creating a separate Active Directory infrastructure, but rather we are implementing deception into what you already have. So this greatly, increases the effectiveness of such modules. And this way, using using scripts, so it's not like we are putting agents or whatever on your domain controllers. Operations are clear here. You will be able to add records about computers, so those will be decoys, and about fake users that we will be closely monitoring. You will see an example right in here. If we go to Active Directory Security, how it goes, then go to Manage, you can see my users and computers. So Wazuh here plays a crucial role, in detecting, in monitoring fake users that we are adding here, you see. So of course, it doesn't mean that Active Directory security module works only with Wazuh. It's just an example, we are focusing with the same result. You can also use ABM Curator and Splunk. And last but not least, we see that you can send, generally speaking, because logs are provided in common event format, based on that, you can send logs basically to any CM of your choice without any issues. However, to make this integration easier for you, we have additional materials for CM integration. So those includes rules, decoders, some basic ones that you can further customize for your needs if needed. And also, on the end, we can provide you with dashboards that you can implement in your Wazuh, statistics about what you receive from Labyrinth. Okay, so that was basically the main thing that I wanted to share with you. You can always learn more, as we mentioned, from the Labyrinth knowledge base, kb.labyrinth.tech. Just drop us a line. If you don't have access, just let us know, and we'll be glad to open it to you. You can see it in release notes, like version 2.2.0, right in here, what was added, and of course, 2.3 from major releases. Everything that we change, that we update, it will be reflected in here. And in Labyrinth knowledge base, you can always find, I don't know how, the most fresh, you got the idea. The latest version of the documentation that we have. Thank you very much, and I wish you great evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. It was great hearing to the content. Once again, guys, if you need any dedicated session or more details, go to our knowledge base or contact us, and we are happy to organize a specific session on the subject or help you to configure all the features within your environment. Thank you very much. Looking forward to meet you soon. And please follow us on LinkedIn to hear about new webinars and new possibilities to learn more about our great platform. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.